So I think I'm definitely warming up to a larger idea. I'm still building the infrastructure for what we'll be doing in the future, but I'm getting there. I'm working out all the kinks. That was not uh, an intended uh, innuendo there, but I guess we'll see as this night goes on. So, what I wanted to do with the rest of my year, I guess, as far as content wise, is just take a look at the ridiculousness I've been seeing in academia, and not just in my little niche of like psychology and behavioral studies, more just all the ridiculousness that I've come across because it's vast and it's very disillusioning when I figured that I would be going for higher education. I didn't figure that I would be just inundated with all sorts of strangeness. I thought that I'd be getting a sort of education that would just sharpen my skills, prepare me for the workforce, stuff like that, But yeah, the strange keeps on a coming, and a lot of what I want to do as a goal for this, I suppose, is just to shed a spotlight on the weird stuff that ends up in academia, you know. And there's a lot of people doing this right now, but I don't know that they have the same eyes that I do, or the same accesses to journals that I have as a grad student. I might as well exploit it while I've got it, right? Because if I weren't a grad school student, I'd have to pay for extra accesses to all these journals, and be a lot of money for me to do these searches. Anyways, so I've already done a search on instances of PewDiePie, instances of Joe Biden, instances of Anita Sarkeesian, that old topic. And we learned some things from that. Academic articles don't really shed a good light on Joe Biden. Most articles that mention PewDiePie have nothing to do with PewDiePie other than to say that he's the biggest YouTuber. There's not much research done specifically on PewDiePie. There are a few articles, but we learned that, and we also learned that people that write about Anita Sarkeesian, a little more than half the time, write about what happened to her, not her actual body of work. So we've done a few of these deep dives, and Michelle just joined us in the chat. Hi, Michelle. This is one of those nights where I will be um, speaking with the chat and actually, taking people's opinions into consideration. So I'm gonna call Michelle really quick because I have multiple ways of reaching you people. You people. All right, Michelle. How should I reach you? Skype or Facebook or whatnot? Tell me in the chat, and I'll grab you. So we'll bring her in, and I suppose if she wants. She says it's morning and it's night for me, so maybe she hasn't even had her morning tea yet. Um, oh, wait, last time I brought her in, I didn't tell her what the subject was, and she ducked out. So maybe, thinking about what the subject is today, um, maybe I should let her see what's going on first before calling her up. Hi, fucking Lago from Minnesota. Nice to see you too. Um, so, oh, Michelle says Skype. Well, uh, if this doesn't sound of interest to you, better hang up on me because today I decided just to look at searching the term porn studies. Now, um, I'm just looking for the ridiculousness in academia, not so much a deep dive at that, but I got about a quarter of the way through so far a pretty good review of all of the different porn studies that have been done and published this year to date. And so this might be a 2 or 3 or 4 night series. But let's see. Uh, I think it's Skype that made its way off of my phone. That's what I was missing. Look at this. Look at this. Okay. See that little hole in my apps right there? Right there? That's where Skype used to be, and I was wondering what the hell jumped off of my phone there. Oh my goodness, it was Skype. There we go. we're figuring stuff out. It was nice to acknowledge you, fucking logo. Um, let's see. Where is Michelle? There you are. You know, it's been over a year that I've talked to Michelle on Skype. Huh. Um, so, she said, I'll go make a cup of tea and be back in a moment. In the chat. We'll just put up a stand here. One of these days, I'll have everything up and ready so that I'm not caught off guard like this. But anyways, um, let's see. We're going to go to this scene right here. So I did a search of porn studies. You can see right here, porn studies, right? Let's see. Get this. There we go. More room for that. And I came across this because some other people who do peer review of studies have been mentioning a journal called Porn Studies um, a lot recently. Let's see. I think Michelle might be trying to jump in on Skype. So I looked at porn studies because I was like, well, maybe there's a wealth of craziness there that we can address. And the first study that I came across was this one called Third Cinema, Radical Public Spheres and an Alternative to Prison Porn. Right? Now, when it says prison porn right there, it's actually not talking about uh, sexual images. It's talking about people who like to watch shows like Cops. So it got me to click on it, saying that it was, going to talk about alternatives to prison porn. And then, you know, after that clickbait, then I'm reading a study that's all about like people liking to watch locked down behind bars and what's the latest one, like 911 live stuff like that, you know. But it's basically making uh, the assertion that this is class warfare, basically, that well off people are actually watching these things because it's like poverty porn. And so it's not so much the setting of prison or the fact that cops are there. It's that people are watching as uh, entitled people with a lot of money, people with means. They're watching because they like to watch poor people. It's like, I don't know. So that came out, and that has nothing to do with porn, but it had porn in the title because it's like there's a whole bunch of things that have porn in the name now that aren't actually porn. Like one of my favorite uh, subreddits on Reddit is actually justice porn. Where the bad guy gets their comeuppance, but also there's tank porn. If you like to see like uh, footage of other tanks being blown up by a tank, you know, a lot of footage of Apache helicopters doing their thing also ends up in the tank porn subreddit. So yeah, there's porn apparently is just like stuff that you're addicted to watching. I suppose you could say like reality TV porn, and then it wouldn't be porn. It would just be, you know, people that like to watch reality TV to the point where they get addicted to it. Um, this one didn't download the study, but we've got the abstract right here. This one's called Revenge Porn. The name doesn't do non consensual pornography justice, and the remedies don't offer the victims enough justice, right? And so I know what the article is going to be about. I think it would be a really good thing to do maybe a deep dive on. You know, it's interesting. You know, how long does it take to put milk in tea? Anyways, moving on. We've got this one. This one has a crazy name to it, right? What's it saying? Oh, I got a weird error. It says YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience buffering. What the hell? Um, okay, fine. So here we go. Hi, Michelle. Are you just going to breathe heavy for me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you breathing heavy.
Ah, cool.
How hard is it to make your own tea these days?
Long story short is there's a morning thing which I make a cup of tea for my mum when we first wake up.
Okay.
So I wake up, catch up on the news, then come 7 o'clock I go down and make a cup of tea for my mother and make a cup of tea for myself.
Okay. So what I'm talking about on my show now is a study whose title starts
Hang
with the
on.
term
I've just got
directly.
to cut the volume on the live broadcast because that was a few seconds behind and driving me nuts.
Yeah, that would drive me nuts too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this
Fun
study's
studies. Interesting
title,
subject.
it starts with directly in your face,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a study about sending and receiving dick pics.
Oh, you've narrowed it down.
Well, no, it's there in the title. It says a qualitative study on uh, the sending and receiving of unsolicited dick pics among young adults.
Okay.
And so
So what does it
they
say?
they titled it directly in your face.
Yeah,
Does that sound about right?
it's worthy of study, but hey ho.
Um, yeah, I'm just trying to find something to do a deep dive on. As far as like a commonality on all these articles about porn studies, right?
Well, there is. Is porn good or bad for society? Is a very good one, I think.
Well, there are a bunch of studies that they don't go that far as that broad, but they pick very niche topics within porn.
You're
And then
chopping up on me,
overall, I
so
suppose we're
I'm
never
gonna
going to
cut
get.
my video.
Huh? Okay.
You're chopping up on me, so I'm gonna cut my video.
So we're never going to get like uh, the answer as far as like is porn good? We're going to get like little tiny answers like is this type of porn in this setting with this fetish added to it good for people?
Nah, there are general ones. If you go to a website, realbondage.co.uk.
Okay.
Go to,
I'm,
yeah.
I'm not going there because I'm trying to keep porn shots off of my.
There's no porn shot. It's safe.
So it's called Real Bondage?
It's my website.
Okay. Oh, okay. Realbondage.co.uk.
Yeah.
This is a fun way to go off topic.
Yeah. Well, it's not off topic. You'll see two handcuffs. One is fluffy. One is serious metal.
Yes, one's fluffy, one's serious. One's
Go into
newcomer,
the
one's.
serious.
Okay. You're going to lead me through, like. I thought this was choose your own adventure. Okay.
And there is on the left hand side is the subject menu. About 8 down, you will find the CJ and I bill.
The CJ and I bill. Okay.
Yeah.
Or how labor lost the 2010 general election.
Yeah, that's it. The criminal justice and immigration bill,
Yes.
in which it's a long running thing, and you've got a lot of history in that. But
Yeah.
Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? It goes into the bill itself.
Mm-hmm.
Various crap as to why it can't actually happen.
Yeah.
Age verification, and somewhere down there is where the hell is it? Is some of the research.
Well, I can see this graphic that says that as people got more access to internet porn, violent crimes are down.
Yeah,
in the UK.
That'll probably be it.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to hunt for that myself.
And the Guardian saying children addicted to porn don't believe everything the surveys say.
Yeah. The long story short is a lot of the research and stuff that's out there and certainly presented to the public is actually put together with an end aim in mind already. Uh-huh. So they know what they want. There's a lot of people out there making research that they want to fit their narrative, especially the anti-porn lobby, when actually there's some things in there.
Huh.
Where is it? there is one in there which was quite a significant study. I think it was in Japan or one of them that says that actually, yeah, I think it is that one that Porn Panic linked to.
Mhm.
And there should be something that basically says that the internet access and the rise in porn actually helped decrease the sexually violent crimes.
Yeah.
And there's also a link between porn and non-sexual violent crime. That sexual, in other words, if there was a lack of sexual material around,
Mhm.
it doesn't necessarily only link to a rise in sexual related violence, but non-sexually related violence. So in other words, pornography is good for society in general.
How did I just randomly end up with an expert on this topic with her own website to the expertise? Holy shit. I mean, I didn't plan this.
You're breaking up on me.
I didn't
Can
plan
you cue
this.
your video to me if that would help?
Okay.
No, I mean kill your video stream to me
Yes.
so that we're just talking and you're just broadcasting yourself. Because I think there's a problem with
Yeah,
bandwidth.
with this extra bandwidth.
That's much better. That's much better.
Yeah, so I didn't plan for you to be like the expert of the topics that I would be looking at. You know, you just happened to be in the chat. But I did throw your link to your website in the chat so people could go see it.
Yeah, I mean, the website is more a discussion about stuff that I've done and been involved with through the years rather than being out and out there to shock or a source of stuff. So it's mostly safer work. There's the odd autistic photo in there, but that's about it.
Well, I don't want to come across the artistic photos.
You're breaking up on me again.
I want to stay away from the artistic photos.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But somewhere in there is actually a link to some of the research that did actually do it. Degree, the research that's behind that internet access and that stuff that Sex and Censorship posted, there should be a link to that somewhere in here. And that's what I'm looking for, and I can't find it. I'm actually trying to read the website as we're going.
So the next study the next article that I found that I thought was promising is called Pornographic Deepfakes: The Case for Federal Criminalization of Revenge Porn's Next Tragic Act.
Yeah, I mean, revenge porn is pretty sick. I mean, any kind of revenge, that's seems to be one of the problems with society, in that people who get people who, there seems to be a core of people that when a relationship ends, they can't let go. It's a sort of, it's as if they think that their other half is their possession, and when their other half says this is over, they say, no, it's not. I'm coming for you, and I'm going to ruin you, because if I can't have you, nobody else can. And via various means, be it revenge porn, be it murder, be it acid in the face, they try and enact that thing. So the things like dick pics, etc., are studies which, to me, are only on the surface of what is a much deeper problem in society, and a problem which a lot of people just seem to want to avoid because it seems to be too big to tackle. Personally,
yeah, but this is a special kind of revenge porn because it was never actually made by the person who's the victim.
Yeah.
And from what I know about deepfakes, the more footage you have of yourself out there on the internet, the easier it would be to make a deepfake of you. But for most people, I wouldn't think that there was enough footage of them out there to make a really good deepfake that was convincing. I mean, you'd have to have at
Is there
least 2 hours worth of full face shot of you out there, and there's a lot of people who don't have that.
is there any other way for us to chat? Because this is breaking up. Do you have a one of those things like we did before, a link into a discussion group where we chatted?
I'll go into the treble room in the Discord.
Discord.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'll work on Discord easily. There was another one. What was it? That thing in the top right-hand corner. Duck something? Quack?
Quack.
Duck? I don't know. We did it last time a couple of weeks ago. And you
Oh no,
broadcast the link out.
that would be a completely different stream. I'd have to make a StreamYard.
Oh, StreamYard, that was it, with the
Yeah,
duck logo.
that's a completely different platform.
We can probably struggle along with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think that a lot of this is down to the education of our children, and we don't give them the education they need. There was actually something broadcast on Channel 4, which was called Sex in Class.
Mm-hmm.
And someone who's, I think she's on the United Nations, not sure, Gerda Lenikens. If I can find this. I don't know if you'd actually be able to find the episode itself. She's from the Netherlands. She's Dutch. And how the heck am I going to get this to you? I'll get this to you in private Discord, because I don't want to blow it all over your Discord. And the long story short is they brought someone over. They brought Gerda over from the Netherlands to go into a school in the UK.
Yeah.
To examine the sex education that was, and also relationship education, which I think is the most important part, and reteach a class of students. It's uncovered a heck of a lot. One of the key things is because we don't educate our children properly in this sphere, they end up turning to pornography to get their education, which is a load of fantasistic bullshit, pardon my French, but they end up thinking that it's how relationships are supposed to be, and we end up with a dysfunctional society. And it's been going on for a few generations, because one of the things was she was teaching the women to use a mirror to examine themselves and to get used to their own bodily functions. And some of the parents were calling her up and say, how dare she teach their children this thing? You know, so our stiff upper lip inability to teach our kids properly means they go off to fictional pornography sites, get a load of crap, and they think that's how they end up thinking that things like sending people dick pics is supposed to be how you start a relationship. And yeah, right.
Yeah. I definitely would want for a better source of education than just porn.
Life is strange. People are strange. But people don't want to grab the real serious nettle by the thorns and actually sort out the problem at the root, because they're just too damned embarrassed.
I can see that. I mean, there's a lot of that in the world. Who I would think would be the first person to get a deep fake made out of them. I think the prime target would be Sargon of Akkad. I'm just saying. Now,
Just saying.
if it were made by somebody of his leaning, it might be Anita Sarkeesian. But the funny deep fake that would be spread around everywhere that everyone would watch would be one of Sargon of Akkad. Unfortunately, you and I both have so much footage of us out there that it'd be possible to do
there's
us too.
one thing that I'm going to link you to. That's from a CNET article from about this time last year. Samsung deepfake AI could fabricate a video of you from a single profile pic.
What?
Yeah.
So it just animated the Mona Lisa in a way that like people would be able to recognize the Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
With one picture. Wow.
One pic.
That is impressive.
That's technology.
But it couldn't add eyebrows to the Mona Lisa?
They could do whatever the hell they like. That's technology these days. You can't believe a damn thing you see.
Yeah. I always thought the Mona Lisa was creepy with no eyebrows.
Things like that merely become an artistic step.
Yeah. Like I've never been in favor of women ripping their eyebrows out and then painting them back on.
For some, it's an aesthetic thing. For some, it's they've got cancer and they lose everything.
Yeah.
Some do, some don't. I appreciate your personal aesthetic.
So the next one I found with a very strange title. It says, "Pussy Power, Not Pity Porn. Embodied protest of hashtag Faces of Prostitution Twitter network."
It's just popped up on my screen now.
Mm-hmm.
So what's that supposed to be a study of?
Well, selfies on Twitter and sex work. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank as to how I feel about it, but I thought the title was grabbing. You know, I think it also has to do with the protest of hashtag Faces of Prostitution was about like women trafficking and stuff, and not about escorts who are choosing to make the most out of that situation. So
I think we're going to have to try Discord because this is not good.
All right, well, I'll see you in Discord.
I've only caught about 20% of that.
I'll see you in Discord then.
Okay, bye.
All right. So this is still a work in progress, guys. I'm trying to set up all of the different. Let's see. We're voice connected. Trying to set up all of this so that future broadcasts will be technically proficient, I guess. But every time I set up one sort of technology, someone says, "Oh, I'm having trouble with that. Can you try this other technology?" You know, and it's very daunting to find one technology that works for everybody. Let's see. All right. Well, I should be in the trouble chat. Anyways, we'll see if Michelle joins us. If anybody who is watching had access to my Discord, you could just jump right into it as well. The next study I saw was is campus rape primarily or a serial or one time problem? Evidence from a multi campus study. And this one I think is pretty interesting. Um, so, what it basically says is catch the rapist on campus, and you will stop a whole bunch of rapes because it's primarily uh, it's a problem of serial perpetration. So basically, it's a few guys making things bad for all the rest of the guys. So what we got to do is catch the rapists, and then the rest of the guys, can have a nice college experience without being considered rapists, and the girls can be safer as well because you know it's largely a serial problem, not like each guy is finding one girl to that rape. Like there's so many uh, girls having sexual assaults on them on campus, but it's coming from just a few guys. And what's weird is, you know, every girl knows somebody who was sexually assaulted, but none of the guys know anyone who's uh, a sex offender, basically. Um, Michelle says she totally lost Discord. Um, the next study that I found is called Hidden in Shame: Heterosexual Men's Experiences of Self Perceived Problematic Pornography Use. And I think that's interesting. Like the shame of pornography is a heterosexual thing. Hmm. Hang ups might be interesting. This one was immediately jumped out at me as being strange to look at. An examination of sexual double standard pertaining to masturbation and the impact of assumed motives. Um, yeah, I don't know. That might be daunting. Next is Captain Dorito and the Bombshell: Supernormal Stimuli in Comics and Film. And this is in the Evolutionary Behavioral Sciences Journal, but it's basically studying um, how like superheroes are drawn as sexual objects, and this goes for the men and the women, and they're basically exaggerations of what we find attractive in the opposite sex. And the Dorito of Captain Dorito is referring to how the shoulders to waist proportion of superheroes is often the shape of like a Dorito pointing downward, with the, you know, the next study I came across it said, money can't buy me love. Radical right wing populism in French romantic comedies in the 2010s. And where it lost me, honestly, is French. Because, like, I'll watch some rom coms and, like, read an article and get something out of it. But I don't want to watch things in French. I don't know any French rom com stuff for the last decade. I know the classics, but let's see. And now I think Michelle's trying to connect with me over Discord. Instead of going to the room that I set up called Trouble, she's just trying to call me straight up. So, hello? Hello? You can hear me?
Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I can hear you.
You can hear me.
Sounding better, I think.
Awesome. You sound better too.
Good. Yeah, Skype isn't always the best, especially with the number of people hammering the servers at the moment.
Ah. I get that now. Yeah, because of the pandemic.
So you were on the radical right-wing populism in French romantic comedies of the 2010s.
Yes, that's where we are now. And how I'm not like if you told me that this study was about British rom coms, I'd be like, yes, we're about to talk about the BBC. You know,
I
I
didn't
love.
give you that one, did I?
No, no, you
Oh.
didn't give me that. I'd love to watch some BBC content and understand.
Okay, I think your mic threshold is a bit low.
Uh, yeah, it probably is. It's harder to set the way that I'm doing things. But yeah, I I'm not watching French shows. So this one, it's called.
I think your input sensitivity
Uh,
needs to be a bit lower. It's under your voice and video settings.
yeah. Um, let's see. Voice settings, sensitivity. Um, it says if it's green, it's transmitting my voice, and it's going green.
Oh boy.
Are we having trouble with this mode too?
I think we're having trouble. Your last sentence just came out, fine.
Uh-huh.
But I'm not sure what the overall situation is. There's so many links in this chain that any one of them could be thrown as a curveball.
Yeah, I know. And every time I have a different guest join my live stream, their preferred program is something completely different, and so then I'm having to do all the setup.
Perfectly.
Yeah, that's because I'm now holding the microphone right in front of my face.
Sorry.
But that's fine. People can just see me looking weird on my screen. I have no problem looking weird. So the next study, it starts with the phrase, "It's not something I can shake." Right? And then it continues the effect of racial stereotypes, beauty standards, and sexual racism on interracial attraction. So when I see the term, sorry, the phrase, it's not something I can shake. To me, that's like what you would say about a skinny girl's butt, maybe. I don't know.
I'd take it's not something I can shake as something that they know they've got the problem. They know that um, they know they have a bias, and no matter, even
Yeah.
though they know that that bias is wrong and has no grounding in fact, they still can't stop themselves from having that bias and applying it in life.
Yes, but this is the title of a study, and so they're going to put a double entendre in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's they can't get rid of the notion, even though that they know they should. Plus, part of it is talking about skinny girls' butts and especially skinny girls of a different race. That's what I'm guessing.
Well, that comes over to me as yet another example of absolutely pathetic research. When the researcher is, I mean, one of the, it appears that the researcher may know that they've got that problem, and yet
Mm-hmm.
they're using the double entendre to actually try and make fun of it, to try and lessen their own. I mean, that's the problem. So much of this research is now has so much personal bias in it that its value is extremely diminished.
Well, it might be something to read, but it says the findings suggest that racial stereotypes, beauty standards, and sexual racism are prevalent among the student community. And when I see the student community, what I get from that is this is a researcher who didn't go outside of the university that they're at in order to find subjects, which always to me is this bias point where you're not studying like people in normal settings. You're studying them in the university, so you're filtering for anyone who didn't make it to university. You know.
So is this a paper, rather than being a serious paper by a tried and tested researcher, is a paper by a student who's still at university who's cutting their teeth on this stuff? And if that's the case, then why are these things published in a place where they could be read and actually fed into proper discourse and potentially have an effect on society in general?
Well, you would think that that sort of thing wouldn't get out with serious uh, research, but this went out in a journal called Sexuality and Culture in the February 2020 edition. Uh, they've been out for 24 years now, right? And a lot of what goes into these papers are researchers who are young in their career because that's when they're around the academia environment. You know, some of them go straight through and then become professors themselves, but you know, a lot of them leave for more lucrative careers than teaching. So a lot of the papers you do see written are by young people. I don't know who this Molly Silvestrini is, but yeah, I have a couple of studies myself that I had to put into a student journal. At least it was a student journal on my way to my undergrad degree. And yes, I was around the campus when I was conducting my study. So
That, again, says something deeper to me, in that our society, modern society, doesn't value philosophy and value the insights on itself. It doesn't care about the insights on itself. It just cares about chasing the next dollar.
Yeah.
And so if there's a lack of reward for if society doesn't value something, you're not going to get paid well doing it. So why is anybody going to do it? And we end up only with the people who actually have a passion for doing things. Like artists know that they ain't going to get paid very much, or the average artist isn't going to get paid very much. A few will rise above everything else, but the average artist isn't going to get paid very much. They don't care. Their passion is their art rather than the figures in their bank account.
Absolutely. Um, so the Persian actor jumped in the chat and said, "Oh, I have to go back and watch this one from the start, buddy. Love your randomness." So I think that I'm actually doing something right with this. You know, trying to pick out which studies I'm going to do the deep dive on. You know, and just do a macro search and include people in it. You know, and if this becomes a regular thing, then maybe I'll have better content come from it. I don't know.
Well, I think you're doing the right thing in going. Sexuality, pornography, and all this stuff is that there's so much beneath it, and a lot of people are feeling insecure and don't know stuff, and that they're looking for quality discourse.
Yeah.
And to try and get a handle on things. That through my own. Well, that website that I took you to earlier is one of the longest running, not the longest running by a long chalk, but it's been up there for nearly 2 decades.
Mm-hmm.
And people want and understand it. It comes back to the same thing. When people are growing up, they're not getting a proper education. They don't really know what to make of their own emotions, their own feelings, because nobody's got the guts to tell them. So they need a handle on these things. And actually, when they go, actually, I'm not so special after all. This is perfectly fine, and I don't need to worry about it, and just get on with their lives, as opposed to feeling bad about something that they actually feel is that they're abhorrent, they're outside of society, they're a sexual criminal, and it can dominate their lives if they don't get the right education on it.
Definitely. So you would agree with me that it's important that this sort of research be serious.
Yeah, totally agree. We need serious research. The problem is a lot of the research now is so underwhelmed so overwhelmed by the bias of the researchers, and further on that there are so many people who are just anti-porn that they will do anything, and I do mean quite literally anything, in order to present fake stuff to their MPs or whoever in order to try and get porn shut down. The reality is they haven't got a clue what they're messing with. It's just trying to do their own personal, achieve their own personal goals, which is what the Criminal Justice and Immigration Act was all about in the first place. But there was quite a nasty case which triggered that off.
Yeah. So, to begin this show, I said that I was doing research on the term porn studies, right? Because it's the name of a journal, but also because it would come up with other porn studies, right? The next.
You've cut out on me again.
Oh, sorry.
It's the name of the study, but also.
So it's the name of the journal, but also it could bring up a lot more interesting things in that area that are not in that journal.
Oh yeah.
because it doesn't
I
have to
mean,
be
there
in the
was
Journal of Porn Studies to be about porn studies. But because of I'm searching for the term, not things in the journal, I came up with
mm,
this other study that I have on the screen now. Dwarfism on display, analyzing the visual rhetorics of book covers on 4 children's literature chapter books, which somehow in an EBSCO search uh, is relevant to the topic of porn studies.
you're dropping out on me again.
I'm losing you. But generally, you'd say that we should be serious when we're studying this topic.
Well, there is so much that actually forms porn. I mean, if back on my website, on that page,
Mm-hmm.
you go down to uh, what is the name of it? Why can pornography not be enforced in law? There's a perfectly good reason why pornographic material cannot be reliably enforced in a court of law. Pornography is noted to be material which is judged to incite a lustful reaction. The question is, incite a lustful reaction in who? You're looking at just before, about 40% of the way down.
I'm there.
An objectophile is someone who is incited to lust by inanimate objects. Consider a trial where the accused is an average person and the judge is an objectophile. The judge could say, well, Mr. P, that picture of the naked woman is neither here nor there. That picture of the gatepost, however, is absolutely disgusting. 5 years. Bang. I mean, I've met people who, one of the things elsewhere is that I bring up the thing of phobias and what's the opposite of phobia? Well, basically, a phobia is a completely irrational reaction that we have to some stimulus, commonly spiders or snakes or something. We
Yeah.
do not know why we have that reaction. We cannot easily control it, and we need to get help for that reaction. But likewise, there's the opposite, which is a fetish, which is a reaction that gets our engines revved, but we don't know why. We don't know why those things. I mean, I've met people with fetishes for dangling earrings, sneakers, believe it or not, and they don't know why this happens. And you know, so this issue with the dwarfs that you were just talking about, I mean, yeah, there probably are people who get objectophiles themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They're incited to lust. They have a fetish by inanimate objects, of all things. Nothing which even has any remote link to humanity in it at all. And so, yeah, there are going to be people who are incited to lust by pretty much anything that you can imagine. And there are majority of people who probably won't. And, you know, so a lot of these studies, they assume that everybody has the same fetishes and the same phobias as everybody else. But no, it's seriously wide. So a lot of these studies have a serious problem.
Yeah. I mean, imagine a documentary on body painting.
Yeah.
I mean, if the bodies were naked in the film, and then they're parading in a body paint parade, um, naked but for the paint, you know, would that be considered porn?
It would be by some people.
Some people might call it porn. I'd call it art.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
We're evaluating the evidence itself rather than evaluating the person who's actually viewing that evidence.
Yeah.
We've got it asked about face.
Let's see. So the next study that I found that I thought might be a good hop off was published on the first of the year, and it says masculinity and problematic pornography viewing, the moderating role of self-esteem. And basically, what they're trying to get to is if we uh, see people are watching porn that is detrimental to women, say ending with the money shot, you know, is that tied to their view of traditional masculinity or their own self esteem?
I think their problem is by trying to come to an individual conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a problem with a chunk of these studies. I mean, there are people. I mean, one of someone I know and I've met in real life is someone who is she's ethical pornography.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's some of the audiences. Women watch porn. Quite a number of women watch porn. Quite a number of partners will watch porn together. I mean, that's part of the problem is that the people who are who have a problem
Mm-hmm.
and then turn to porn as some sort of validation or anchor for their own self-esteem. So part of the yeah.
Well, I might not be the most read up on porn or even the most experienced, but in my experience, um, I might not have been good at searching, but what I came across was more than half the porn that I saw was ending in the money shot position. Um,
Sorry, can you repeat that again, please?
More than half the porn that I've seen in recent years that I can think of, it ended in the money shot position, and it had no storyline to it. Like there's no like I can remember finding my dad's porn collection, and there was like stories. There was a pizza guy that would show up and say, "Did anyone order a pizza?" You know, that there was the plumber porn. There was the we're on a horseback riding trip and we're lost in the forest together. You know, stuff like that. There's like no story to any of it now.
Yeah, total. Well, I don't watch porn myself.
Yeah.
Totally with you. The soul has gone out of everything. It's just wham bang, thank you, ma'am, and it's your problem is the porn that's currently being produced responsible for the views that some people have of porn, or is the porn that's being produced actually the result of what the people who are producing the porn want to produce and think that the customers think that that's just all that's there?
Mm.
And certainly, when you look at a lot of the mainstream Pornhub and the rest of it, yeah, it's feminist porn isn't an oxymoron, Persian actor. But I think Persian actor, you've already got a handle on that yourself. But yeah, I think the ethical side of things, and I think if we can actually change, if we educate our kids, then they will be able to look at various different types of pornography and know, that's useless, and not even bother watching it.
Yeah. So when it says problematic pornography in viewing, um, immediately in the title, I thought it had something to do with like how it would be objectifying women in the porn. But what they're actually saying is basically porn addiction level pornography watching. So when it's problematic in this context, it doesn't mean that you know it's not completely intersectional in the way that
Sorry, repeat again, please.
it's not saying when it says problematic that it's not reflecting intersectional values. When it's problematic, it means it's actually causing problems for the viewer in that they're getting addicted or that it's caused like watching it gives them less self-esteem because then they think that they have to overperform.
Yeah, that's one of it. But that is the whole problem, and it comes back to that what I said quite some time ago. The pornography is just fiction. It's just designed for a quick hit, and that's the problem is that the person watching it hasn't got enough education to know to put that porn in its place and know that it's actually that they shouldn't be modeling themselves on that porn.
Yeah. So next thing that I found, this one now I haven't seen Jamie Demeter in my chat today, but he'd love the title of this. It's The Lived Experience of Iranian Bisexual Women, a Thematic Analysis. Now, I know that first off, uh, we have a Persian actor in the chat, so he might be interested in this one as well because it's a study done on Iranian bisexual women. But basically, it's so this study took a whole bunch of uh, anecdotal, just case studies and looked for themes among them. But the weirdness of this is like how hard do you have to search to find a bisexual Iranian woman?
Probably not that hard at all. And the first question in my mind would be, where are these women living? Are they living in Iran, or
In
are they living in America?
in Iran, like I'm looking at
Well,
the abstract, and the last three words in there is women in Iran.
we're being told off by the Persian actor for our pronunciation of Iran.
Okay, so he wants me to say Iranian. Yeah, I I prefer I prefer Persian. It just flows off your tongue.
Yeah.
But yeah, Iranian.
So what does it say? What does the study say?
Um, they coded the data and analyzed it, but they was basically comparing 17 different themes, and they came across biphobia, confusion, and problems in self definition, and they were pretty much the same as other studies that were done in Western populations. But somehow they were able to find 17. How many? Let's see. Six. They found six of them in Iran. I want to call it Iran. Okay, there's. Oh my goodness. We're butchering all of these Middle Eastern country names today.
Well, yeah. I mean, It doesn't surprise me. I mean, those confusions are happening in pretty much every society, especially in the UK. It was pretty much there in that society says that you have to be, uh, well, you couldn't be bisexual, homosexual, and all those teachings, all
Yeah.
the pressure that comes from society, but yet people know that they're not. And yet society says you have to be like this, otherwise there's something wrong with you. And yeah, good, you're going to get confusion on multiple different levels
Now,
because society doesn't recognize the truth.
I seem to remember that the leader of Iran once said that there were no gay people in Iran. That's an American problem.
Mother Nature
That's
knows
why I
best.
was shocked to just see that this is a study that exists. That they were actually able to find out people in that country because it's a death sentence.
Yeah, I mean, people are people, and they will still find each other, and they will still talk among each other, and there are still links being made, and people will leave that country and go to other countries, and but still maintain those links. I mean, humans are humans. I mean, look at all the pressure that was put on within the 1900s in the UK. But still, I mean, I think I've got rubberist magazines that were printed and distributed, I think, from the 1920s.
Mm-hmm. Ugh. Why would you save grandma porn like that?
It was actually something that was left to me in the will of someone else,
Uh,
and it sort of spoke to the fact that yeah, you can run away as hard as you like, but you can never run away from yourself.
Speak of the devil, Jamie Demeter's here, and so there it is. Um, so the next one I found, it's got pictures in this. So if you can look at the live stream, it's which has a bit of a delay to it, but it's an article called "Narcissister, a Truly Kinky Artist," and it's just a an article about an artist named Narcissister, and it's in an art journal. But like when I'm searching porn studies, this comes up, and I look at the costume for this play that's being put on, and it kind of looks like a sex doll.
Doesn't look like much like a sex doll to me,
Okay,
and I've seen a few.
you've well, it looks very not real, but it gets worse because there's other pictures in here. Basically, this artist who calls herself Narcissister, um, she makes different sort of like costumes with basically doll faces.
You're going quiet on me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe the feed hasn't gotten to you yet. But also there's one picture in there where yeah, um, I don't know even what's happening there, but it's like the head is on backwards on her head, and then there's like another head between her legs and stuff, and it's just it's creepy, and like different doll parts are added, um, and
Look,
I don't know what it's supposed to say. Beauty's in the
there's
eye
a
of the
lot of
beholder.
people.
So is art.
There's a lot of people, and there's an entire culture of doll fetishists, and they actually have full on sex doll outfits that they get into in order to do whatever they wish.
Yeah,
And I think the whole thing is to try and I think um, from the very few that I've talked with, it's as if they've had such a um, traumatic is probably the word that I'd use to describe their upbringing, and they've been told that sex is dirty and shouldn't be done, but they enjoy it, and depersonalization is the only way in which they can enjoy sex.
Yeah.
To just say, it's not actually me that's enjoying it. It's this negative. It's this neutral, dull personality thing.
Yeah. So Jamie in the chat wants you to know that he watched your U-Gears model videos on Vimeo.
Yeah, I'm watching the chat. I saw him say it twice.
Well, I guess he wanted me to say it on stream.
Thank you very much for watching it, Jamie. I hope it brought you some enjoyment.
So the next,
especially me pricking my finger a few times with the damn stuff. But yeah.
So the next study that I came across, the first part of the title is conducting research in non-traditional settings. Then after the colon, it follows research assisted experiences in a gay bathhouse.
You cut out right at the important point, but it shall pop up on my screen very shortly. Research assisted experiences in a gay bathhouse. Non-traditional. What's non-traditional about a gay bathhouse?
What? You don't see what's non-traditional about the gay bathhouse?
No.
Well, I've never been, so I can't speak to the label, but also I've never been to a straight bathhouse. So
I think the problem is that the researcher has not really gone into enough underground research to work out what has been actually going on underground for so long, and just been part of normal life for people who have done it and been part of those communities, sub-communities, invisible communities. So their view of what's traditional and what's not traditional is a bit
fair enough. I mean, to me, just the fact that an academic article had in the title "gay bathhouse," and that was part of the focus. To me, was like, wow, wow. I am far off the deep end. We are down the rabbit hole.
To me, it's not that much of a rabbit hole. Oh, okay, let me just run an experiment with you. Let's say that you were going to start a research into chastity belts. What would be your opening position and your understanding about chastity belts and their historic usage?
Not much. I would understand their usage in cartoons and in certain movies that they came up in, such as The Princess Bride and a few others. There were some cartoons that also had chastity belts in them. There was one Popeye episode that you wouldn't see on TV nowadays, but Olive Oil had a chastity belt slapped on her.
So what is your understanding of the actual historic use of chastity belts? Do you think they were actually used at all?
I've never seen a fossil or I guess relic from the past that would be that chastity belt. I've never seen one in a museum at all.
That's actually positive for me because where I see some of these researchers they're starting off on a mythical belief that they existed and that they were used in the medieval times in the UK when the knights went off on battle to the Crusades. when actually it's as you say, there's bugger all evidence at all.
Persian actor wanted to know about that article, so I just put that in there so he can find it. It's weird. I could just like give people usually the ISSN or something, and then they can go find it themselves. But I'm not dealing with people who are in academia, so they don't have immediate access to all these journals.
You might have to put some of them in the in the comment section or the description.
Yeah. So this is another study that I found. So it's actually just an academic article, but it says rethinking pornography within the context of the new French extremity, the case of, I want to say it's Base-moi.
Just looking at now.
Okay, so like the PG explanation of this would be in that movie, women treat men the same way that a black widow spider would do to its male counterpart. They have sex with them and then they kill them.
Okay.
And it's like a rampage that they go on. That they go and it's basically rape and pillage. Only
okay.
the female version of it.
You see that again comes back to my thing that we're putting this stuff out there. It's totally unrealistic, and if people don't actually have grounding on what is realistic, they don't know where to place that within the operational parameters, for want of a better way of putting it.
So he wants us to go back and actually talk about the abstract, and I think we did enough. I mean, it's the one about the bisexual women in Iran, and I'm like, I can cut and paste the whole abstract into the chat for you, I guess, but I didn't pick up the actual article yet because I don't want to be clogging up all of the different article requests. Oh shit. I just found out that there's a 200 character limit on the chat. But I can blow this up for you.
It doesn't take too much. A simple Google research, Google thing of how many bisexual women. Where are we? What country?
Iran.
Okay. Yeah,
Iran.
Yeah. How many bisexual women in Iran? And pretty much the first thing that's come up is dojacensor.org. Common experiences of bisexual women in Iran.
Mm-hmm.
Full article, lived experience of Iranian bisexual women. LGBT rights in Iran on Wikipedia.
Yeah, it's right there.
There's tons of stuff there.
But with me blowing up the abstract, he can just like take a screenshot and see what that study's about. I've got plenty to get through. And
I only got about another 10 minutes, then I got to start switch over to work.
Yeah, I didn't plan for this to be an hour and a half so far anyway.
Nobody expects a sexual inquisition.
So the next one is productive pleasures across binary regimes, phenomenologies of bisexual desires among Latino men.
I
And,
gotta wait for it to pop up.
and it actually doesn't really interest me as much. I mean, it seems like the title is a bunch of psychobabble. To be honest, it's like you can't use a simpler terminology to tell me what your study is about. I know it's about bisexual Latino men, you know, but it's I just can't wrap my head around what they're actually getting at with the title, and even reading the abstract. It's one of those things
Okay,
where
they're
it's a
tacking
word
on.
salad. Yeah. The next one is Transgressions in Toonland. Uh, Savita Bobby, Velama, and the Indian Adult Comic. That's all you get. There's no abstract for it at all. And I'm like, do I want to request that one? But it does come out of the actual journal called Porn Studies. So it'll probably have, you know, samples of the cartoon. Hmm.
That, to me, comes back to the problem of what are transgressions? And that comes down once more to the subjective side of this, and the subjective angle from the researcher. You know, what exactly are these transgressions supposed to be? I mean, if you ramp up and consider bondage to be a transgression, then I think even in the cartoon, uh, Rupert the Bear was actually tied to a post or something. In Penelope Pitstop's always seems to be getting tied to something or tied to train tracks or something. I mean, where the heck do you draw the line? It's not a case of the act itself, it's a case of what the individual takes from that act. So, yeah.
I get you. I mean, olive oil was always being saved from being tied to train tracks by Bluto the same way. And also, Mario is always saving Princess Peach as the damsel in distress.
Yeah, but to be fair to Nintendo, when it came to the end level, I never saw Princess Peach chained halfway up a wall, hanging there, screaming, "Ah, help me, help me!" She was at least on the floor.
Yeah. So the next one, I think, goes deeper into that point that you're making. Um, Now it's called Defying Shame, Shame Relations in Digital Sexual Assaults. And the reason why it's along that same lines is because you've got uh, the term revenge porn, right, is already out there. And people know what revenge porn is when you say it, right? Somebody had a picture of somebody else that was shared intimately, and then they post it somewhere after the relationship's over that that person wouldn't have wanted posted, right? So in this article, they're actually saying that they're trying to help build a framework for categorizing this as digital sexual assault. So if you do this to a person, you are digitally sexually assaulting them because it sounds harsher, you know, more to the point.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, complicated one.
Yeah,
Sounds simple, but very complex.
I think given the the temperature of YouTube and who my potential audience might be, I think this particular article might actually be something that would be talked about by other people if I were to do a video about it. It would pick up steam just because of the perceived culture war that a lot of the people in our niche have been trying to fight. You know, not that it's the most interesting one. I mean, it has nothing to do with gay bathhouses, but um, just the redefinition of terms is something that would really trigger people who are edge lords. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's it's one of those things that I think the the, the problem is not going to be solved easily
Yeah.
because there's so many country borders involved. Um,
Yeah.
if somebody in the US was to take a picture of someone, the relationship breaks down. They post it to a server in Sweden, just for the sake of our argument, and somebody is watching it in Australia. Laws are pretty much going to be not very effective. Ah,
Damn internet causing all these
yeah.
problems.
Well, the only trick is for countries to actually work together, which is not going to happen, especially in this day and age.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, look, the American government can't even take down uh, what was it? Famous thing, throwing up opening documents on everybody, and nobody can take that down.
Doxing.
Uh, no, it's what's the guy? He's spending time in the Ecuador. Assange, Julian Assange.
Hey, Julian Assange. What a
You
cauliflower.
have WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks is a thing, and nobody can actually still take WikiLeaks down. It's still up there, still running. It's able to hide. And if something like WikiLeaks can't be taken down, then what chance do you stand for anything else like this,
Yeah.
which is affecting an individual?
Well, I guess
Um,
they're not so much worried about how do you take it down. They're trying to do is get it to be recategorized as digital digital sexual assault. Like the terminology will help build the punishment and the deterrence if we start calling it that. Um,
yeah, but there is no real deterrent.
no.
I mean, what laws have if the thing is actually if somebody in the US publishes something on a server in Sweden, then it's being published in Sweden.
Mhm.
Who's which? And if somebody was to actually go to another country and do it's effectively civil offence, unless the goal of this is to try and make it an extraditable offence.
Well, personally, I think I like that they're so strong in their terms when they say things like shared non consensually online and digital sexual assault. Just the fact that this article exists to me, um, I like it. But the strangest thing about this article is actually the source, right? So the cover of it says it's from the Journal of Media and Communication Research, right? But then I look at the source in EBSCO, and it says the source was Revista Brasileira de Higiene y Sanidade Animal. So I put that in Google Translate, and it's the Brazilian Journal of Animal Hygiene and Health.
Sorry, what? The Brazilian Journal of Animal Hygiene?
Yes, and health. That's where it said it came
Well,
from.
we are mammals, I suppose.
Yeah, I know, but uh, I thought it was strange that the English translation version of the journal is called Journal of Media and Communications Research, but in Brazil, in Portuguese, it's the Animal Hygiene and Health Journal. I don't know. Maybe they just like mislisted it as being from the wrong journal because I'd rather go with just what's on the cover of the journal itself. But I thought it was weird because I saw Sanidade Animal and I was like, I don't know Portuguese, but I know I can work that out. So let me just get the actual, and yep, the actual translation bore that out. So, oh, Michelle said Discord dropped, and she's only got like 10 minutes to get ready for her work duties. So, yeah, there she is in the chat. She's got to go to work anyway. So, I think I can finish this in under 2 hours. Um, so, self-reported motivations for offending by autistic sexual offenders. When I saw uh, this, I was like, the way that the YouTube culture treats the term autistic, anyway. That some of them got a case of the tism, and how that's become a little bit of a slang. I thought this might be something that people might be interested in.
Can you hear
But
me, Mike?
yeah, yeah, you're back.
Ah, cool.
Oh,
That last 5 minutes was a complete mess in terms of audio, and I've got to go to work anyway.
all right.
But I think that last one and this one potentially
Yeah,
as well, it may be worth another chat sometime when we've possibly got a stronger channel.
absolutely. And maybe I'll bring up a StreamYard for us.
You've gone again.
Maybe I'll bring up a StreamYard for us for that to
Yeah,
have a
that'll
really good
probably
signal.
be good.
Okay. Take care.
You too. Take it easy.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Um, the next one I found, um, gay porn's bareback momentum. This is basically uh, the prevalence of or lack thereof of condoms in gay anal sex in porn, studied over 10 years, over 10 different platforms, right? And what I like about this, even though like it it's not the topic for me, but what I do like about this is that it's empirical. They go in, they look at the film, they see whether or not there's a condom on that guy, and then that's how they're measuring it. It's like it's there or it's not. It's black or white, right? Um, it's binary, and it's perfect for just a simple empirical study. There's no subjective. Is that a condom or not? You know, they know. So um, The sites that they analyzed in this are Sean Cody, Helix Studios, Lucas Entertainment, Corbin Fisher, Bellamy, Next Door Studios, Randy Blue, Falcon Studios, Cocky Boys, and Chaos Men. I mean, this has got everything that you'd want to find in an academic journal. You know. Next study: gay porn, politics, and lifestyle in 1980s Finland. The short life of Moss Magazine. And I've never heard of Moss Magazine, probably because it's before my time. But yeah, it looks like a really good deep dive. Uh, I don't really care much about Finland uh, or Nordic studies that have to do with gay porn and politics, but this looks like it would be an interesting read. The last one I'll share is called Tailored Pornography: Content, Context, and Consent in Young Women's Sexting. Um, Also, what stood out to me about this is it was from the same journal that the other one was, that is translated from Portuguese, and the source is the Brazilian Journal of Health and Animal Hygiene. So yeah, it's strange. I think that must be just like a glitch or something. But anyways, um, right after this uh, video is over, I'm going to try to call the Persian actor and see if I can get him to come in on one of these shows, probably tomorrow, and we'll talk about maybe some more of the uh, just the cursory research I've been doing to see which studies might be the best ones to like do full blown videos on. And yeah, I think maybe I can get him. He's been on the channel before. Just you might not recognize him, even if you're a long time watcher. So um, I'll call him up right now. I have added, because I'm working on all this technology, I added a little big thanks to people who donated on Patreon. A little big thanks section right there, so that people who do donate get their recognition. Um, and please, seriously, in these times of scarcity, if you don't have the money to give, please don't give to me. Um, or any other YouTuber. Like seriously, priorities, people. Um, and I say give to anyone that you want to, not with super chats, but with coffee, because the person you're giving to gets a bigger percentage of the money that you're giving. And times are tough for anyone that you're dealing with online. So those are there. Connect with me on social media. I'll be back tomorrow for another video. Laters.